What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And we're back with the final two tracks on their 2022 album, Cool It Down. Thank you again to Izzy. And he mentioned that Mars was a shorter track, not like a full, multi-minute song. So yeah, I'm going to tag that on to the end of this first reaction, which is for Different Today. So Mars, I'll start with that. It is, of course, a mythological figure, the god of war, among some other things. And of course, that is one of the names for the planets in our solar system. So I wonder whether there might be relevance in either of those contexts, or if you're Gustav Holst trying to combine them. Either way, I will say that there's some history, culture, science, and legend all implied or imbued in that word, but I can't necessarily see how any of them might play out, especially if it's not a full-fledged, 3 or 4 minute track. So that one I'll just have to see what I can catch. Different Today is an interesting phrase in that there's a timeline being implied. If one is different today, then one must have been some other way before, and one wonders what there might be in the future, if there is some dynamic change afoot, meaning if something is static, immutable, or otherwise unchanging, then there's predictability, there's expectation and familiarity. But if someone or something is different today, then that might require adjustment, a new understanding, or indeed cause confusion, perplexity, or an inability to make a decision because of the altered circumstances, behavior, emotion, whatever it might be. So yeah, there's a lot implied by the phrase, but of course the narrative, or at least scene that that's placed in, will greatly influence how it might actually play out in the case in question. So I'll just have to see what I can catch. This is the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Different Today, followed by Mars, the final two tracks on their 2022 album, Cool It Down.
I feel different today, different today, different today, I do. I feel different today, different today, different
I like the
today,
old phonograph record
I
tech
do.
sound.
How the world keeps on spinning, it goes spinning out of control. How the world keeps on spinning, it goes spinning out of control. How
beautiful tune. I'm gonna try to pause between the two, but I don't want to jump the gun. So it looks like there's still like 20 seconds left. Okay, so a really beautiful tune. It feels like there's not all that many lyrics on the page, but they seem to be conceptual and they're sort of articulating the very things they're talking about. But yes, so it sounds like there is someone being spoken to, though that could, of course, be personifying not only the world in general, but life or even oneself, though it could be literally another person. But yeah, so it feels like there's a persistence in one way, if the idea that, the world keeps spinning, but I'm feeling different today, and if the world's spinning out of control, then maybe there's a resolution to do something differently, to not let the world spinning out of control mean that you go off the rails too. So maybe there's a distinction between what's happening around her and what she is feeling internally, and thus what she might do behaviorally. But again, I don't know if that is more in the metaphorical realm, figurative realm, in relation to the world, society, or culture, anything that's on like a human level, or indeed the world overall, or whether that's like an internal struggle and she's sort of talking to the mirror, so to speak. But I do enjoy the seemingly like old-timey sound, maybe in part because of that beginning where it's sort of like closed off. It sounds like a older quality record where the sound isn't like fully crisp, it's a bit muffled or distant, mixed with this sort of modern driving syncopated kind of breakbeat, which it reminded me a bit of Caro Emerald, less jazzy, but a bit of that like old meets new type of dynamic. So, like, sonically, I absolutely loved it, and there was, these fluttering keyboard lines, and the, like, deep driving bass, and then when she, began repeating, like, part of the refrain, like, in time with the, like, the driving percussion, like, there was a lot of cool moments where vocals synced with or were set apart against the like supporting sonic structure. So I don't quite know what it's about, but I found it very compelling, and she does have a lovely voice. I especially liked at the end where she gave out this sort of like yell or shout vocalization, but there were like effects on it, so it sort of had this echoed quality. And indeed, right before that, it was like her refrain was beginning to echo off into the distance, or was spinning out of control with the world. So a really fascinating tune. Don't quite know what to make of it, but I will re-listen. Obviously, I'll look forward to what Izzy has to say, and any others of you who might be familiar. So now let's finish off the album with Mars.
I watched my favorite show tonight. The dance the light does on the sea's ever-shifting surface.
A sea of honey.
Tunnel, beckoning, rosy. I can't come with you. Not now. No more shimmering path. Just an orb hanging above, with all its heavenly fire contained in a complete circle.
Feels like we are talking astronomy, planets.
I asked my son what it looked like to him. Mars, he said, with a glint in his eye. Mars, he said, with a glint in his eye.
a fascinating sonic art piece. Obviously, spoken word vocals, but it did feel again like there was a bit of an effect or like shadow or echo on them. But yeah, setting a scene, looking out to sunlight on the shimmering water and the way that there's a constant motion and dynamic appearance to that, even if the the angle remains the same and it's more about the way that light is reflected. Like it's about perspective and the subjective framework of the observer. But again, seemingly making reference to the sun, the earth, and Mars, and then, drawing in a generational connection. She asked her son, and he gave a very definitive answer with a glint in his eye, and I was thinking, like, what exactly does a glint look like in someone's eye? But yes, a really fascinating piece. It reminded me, like, I've been going through Sarah McLachlan, and she has these really sort of artistic and poetic type of lines where I'm trying to get a sense where she's making reference to things that are visual but in ways that suggest there's more going on, and with a real, again, almost like a Kate Bush type of eccentricity. So a lot encased within this very short tune, which again is not seemingly like a proper song but more of like a bit of sonic art to end the album conceptually. So yeah, again, I look forward to hearing what Izzy has to say about that and others who might have some insight. But yeah, just a really and like not just fascinating lyrically or in terms of the imagery, but this, stumbling almost like, wood sound style percussion where it's, not like a true drum kit, but there is some sort of rhythm, beat, and depth to the sonic sphere. It was a really not only eccentric but abstract, I guess experimental is the type of term I'm looking for. So yeah, really crazy end of the album. Thank you again to Izzy for sharing. I hope others of you have enjoyed. Do let me know what you think of these two pieces. I will see you next time. Peace.